Welcome to the worst nightmare of all. Reality.
Explore the lesser-known stories of our unknown world. Join the pursuit of the paranormal with Ash and Greg.
Hey Ash, how are you today?
Very well.
Sure.
Very well. Just about.
Well, what a change in the weather. Anybody in the UK or anybody outside the UK, we've had a few weeks of real hot for UK summer. And then it's been raining the last few days, which is rubbish.
When you say rain, it's more like Noah's flood.
Yeah. We're not too bad down here. I don't know how you've had it, but...
Oh my God. My office was flooded at work for 3 weeks. I was working from home. And then this weekend, I saw 2 videos, one from a Kellogg's factory in Manchester, and that was just completely 2 meters flood inside. And a video from B&Q supermarket, B&Q store in Chester, and it was just raining inside. It was just like torrential rain inside, and this person was recording, it was walking around the whole store, and it was just everything was flooded. Every single product in the store was wet. Like and there's just like waterfall coming out the ceilings on every single part of the store.
What a nightmare.
Crazy. Fun to watch.
Not been too bad down here though. So see, it's warmer and drier down south.
Like the rain up here. Driving home from work in it as well on Saturday. Oh my God. Like every car's just doing like 30 on the motorway, and just massive like puddles. So
Yeah.
I even recorded on my dash cam because there's like traffic lights and there's cars going like across the front of me, and you couldn't see the cars.
Wow.
Because the spray was just like covering like the car. So I was like, I can't even see any of these cars. So put it on, set my dash cam to record it.
That's
it's just mad seeing it, and it's
scary.
Scary.
Well.
It was. You couldn't see anything. It's just when the screen wipers going the fastest, and you couldn't see anything, and just massive puddles.
Wow, what a nightmare!
But then in the day, it's like 30 degrees.
Yeah, we've had some warm days.
Mad rain. Like, what the fuck?
So, following on from Mad Rain, we are moving on to celebrities. And celebrities, this is the second part of our celebrities with UFOs. Third.
Part 3.
With part 3, not part 2. I've only said part 2 because it says it on the screen, but
there's part 3 below it.
Yeah, it does. So we're talking. This is part 3 of the celebrity episode, where celebrities. We've got audio files of where celebrities have spoken about UFO encounters or their experience of UFOs, and it's been really interesting. Before, so like the first part, we listened to Robbie Williams, Tom DeLonge. That was a big one, and obviously Tom DeLonge has come further along now on his UFO journey.
That was from when he was like a kid, like in the early Blink days.
Yeah. So he's come massively forward in terms of his beliefs and pushing that. Then we had John Lennon, Muhammad Ali, etc.
Even Spielberg, big on, obviously with his films as well.
And Kurt Russell was like a bonus one because he was one of the first people to report the Phoenix Lights.
Yeah.
When I say Phoenix Lights, I was thinking to myself, don't say Phoenix Nights, which is one of the funniest comedies come out of the UK ever. It's so funny, Ash. Don't shake your head. It's so funny. It really is.
I love Peter Kay. I love 90% of his stuff.
Yeah.
Phoenix Nights just is a hit and a miss. I
I love
don't
it.
find it funny. I
And
can't
Max and
stand
Paddy's Road to Nowhere.
Paddy, all
Oh
that.
my god.
It's just Paddy McGuinness. I just can't watch Paddy McGuinness.
Oh, honestly, it's so funny when they're the
Car
bouncers.
Share,
It's so...
Car Share is the best thing Peter Kay's done,
Yeah,
TV show wise.
yeah, yeah.
And obviously, he's just the stand up stuff, but yeah,
He's a legend.
Phoenix Nights, I can't watch it.
And then we've had part 2 where Dan Aykroyd was on there, Joe Rogan, which Dan Aykroyd also does Crystal Skull vodka, which is nice. Yeah, yeah, got one of them bottles. So yeah, we've been through a host of celebrities. So
we tend to do this like once a year.
yeah,
First one was 2021. Part 2 was last year, and now we're on part 3. Which makes me mad. Like next year we'll find some more.
But I think as the years are now going on, I think we're gonna, what with UAP I say disclosure, but the whole explosion of people coming forward and whistleblowers and like David Grush, in particular, I suppose he's probably the big one at the moment. People like that, I think they're making UAPs and UFO experiences more mainstream.
And a lot of these are more recent than some of the ones we've seen. Yeah, I've seen, like, say, more people are talking about it a bit more.
Yeah, like the Daily Mail almost daily has reports of, like, there was one the other day about Avi Loeb, and just stuff like that a few years ago would never have made it to sort of like any of these news apps. So I think celebrities can see it now as a bit of it's not so taboo as it was. So we might get more and more recent experiences.
And saying that, there's still like ones that are recorded in front of an audience.
Mm-hmm.
There's still that laughter, the host making a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
Which you're seeing from like some of these going back, like the Muhammad Ali stuff from the 70s, I think it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where the audience is literally taking the piss out of him.
Yeah.
It's not quite as bad as that, but there's still like that audience kind of.
Do you think it is actually the audience, or do you think it's the producers of the show driving that narrative? Because I know when you look at those live shows, they've always got somebody there sort of saying clap or applaud or whatever. So the audience are sort of semi-directed. So I don't know if some, and then it becomes a bit of a sort of like a mass thing, like a mass hysteria where some people start and then everybody else starts laughing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be in some cases. I mean, sometimes the host, who is like a comedian type host, then they're trying to make it entertaining. I mean, trying to make it entertaining, aren't they? It's
of course. It's all
like
about
a serious show. It's
clicks, clickbait for viewers, but then you've got people like when they go on Joe Rogan and stuff. He's genuinely there to try and get the information out of people. He does, and he's come full circle. Just on a note, he's got Joe Rogan Investigates. I think you can still watch it on Netflix or something like that. And he goes to Skinwalker Ranch and he talks about chemtrails and all that jazz. And he's a staunch sort of disbeliever at one point. He sort of went off the whole idea of UFOs. And then he's now sort of sucked back in, as we all are really now.
Sucked up by a UFO.
Yeah. That's a Friday night for you. But I think it is going to become more acceptable to put an experience out there, because if you look at the indiscriminate way that there's abduction cases, UFO sightings, you can't just because you're a celebrity, it doesn't mean that you're immune to seeing something weird in the sky or having a weird experience. It doesn't matter. But you've actually got a bigger platform to spread your word. But like you say, it's still a bit of a joke in the mainstream. But I think we're slowly getting there.
We are. I think in the last episode we had Sammy Hagar, and he hadn't really spoken about it until he released his book, like his autobiography, and then he did quite a few press appearances based around his book, and people asking him about the experience he had. But it took until his autobiography for him to, and after retiring, to actually be like, yeah, I had an experience.
It's a shame that they feel that they can't say a lot of stuff whilst they're still sort of like prime and premium brand as such. They've got too much to lose, I think, still. Cool.
So, some of these we're going to be playing. I mean, I think like the last one, the first lot we did, I kind of had heard of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're quite named. The second one we did, I knew about half of them that I'd heard before. Yep. These ones, I'm literally don't have a clue.
We have just discussed one of them and what program he used to be on back in the day. But yeah, look, I don't know that for the first one.
Let's play this one. Like, unusual name. Don't know if that's her real name, but I believe she's an actress. Cool. And her name is January Jones.
Sounds a bit like a porn name, if I'm being completely honest.
So she appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live a couple of years ago, talking about her. And at the end of this, and there's another one later on, where also a bit of a bonus, talking about a bit more, something more paranormal stuff, as well as the UFO stuff. So I'll just play this one.
He like murder mysteries, aliens, like he knew everything, and I just wanted that knowledge.
Are you into like aliens and stuff like that?
Very much.
Oh, really? Yeah. Have you ever had a UFO sighting?
Once.
What happened?
In Iowa. I was at Field of Dreams. No, I was in a field actually, but
how old?
Like 24.
Okay.
22 or 24. And I saw a light in the sky, and it went like made a shape, and then it like went. It was definitely a spaceship.
Well, it could have been a spaceship, I guess.
Or a shooting star that just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A drunken shooting star. Were you like smoking or anything like that?
No.
Totally straight. Was anybody with you?
Yes. No. I mean, there was someone else in the car, and I was like, what? Did you see that? And he said no.
Oh, he didn't see it.
I saw it. And I didn't imagine it. It was
Did he believe you that you saw it, or was he skeptical?
He said he did. But people say things all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So are you into like other paranormal type of stuff?
I'm into everything. I think that, unsolved things. Even watching Shark Week this year, when they said that there was like that megalodon down there that ate the other great white. Mm-hmm. Like, I need to know. I need to know what did that. And it's killing me.
But do you feel like you want them to remain unsolved,
no,
or you want the solution?
I don't care if anyone else knows. I just need to know. Like, I want to know what's down there and what's up there.
The best way to find out is to run for president and win, because if you run for president and you're president, you can look at any of that stuff.
You don't think if our president knew that, he wouldn't tweet it? I mean, he would tell.
I don't think it's occurred to him, because he knows that his name isn't in those files. If they put his name on the file, he'd be like, what's this about me?
Maybe he's been
It's UFO, it's not me-FO. That's why he doesn't read about it. You see?
So there's a couple of things I think there to unwrap a little bit.
Yeah. So this was recorded obviously when Donald Trump was
about 3 years ago. This one.
Yeah. So first of all, just addressing the president thing. Just because you're president doesn't mean you get access to everything. Because you're only there for potentially 4 years, why would they let you know? You don't need to know that stuff.
Especially that president in particular.
That's it. They're hardly likely, because I think they got their fingers burnt a little bit with JFK, because there was rumors that he was assassinated because he was going to go public with UFOs or whatever. So after that, why would you tell any president who's got a worldwide audience and could, especially now with Donald Trump and Twitter and stuff like that, where people could, Donald Trump's tweeting what he thinks there and then with no filter. So
To be fair, I don't. I do kind of miss his tweets.
Yeah,
It's just so surreal, and like the stuff
he shook it up a bit.
Like, you think this is the president of the United States saying, like, we used to have them tweets about King Jong-un and Rocket Man and all this stuff. Like, this is the president doing these tweets. Like, what is this real life? Like, what the fuck is happening?
I know, it's mental. It's mental. So January Jones, what do you think? I don't know what to think about that. That story was all over the place. Was there anybody with you? Yes, no. Oh, actually, yeah, there was somebody in the car and they didn't see it either, or didn't see it.
The first time it's at the start, it says she was in a field.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's in a car. What this means, like, she's in a car in a field, maybe.
Yeah.
But the way she described it is like a satellite or like a star, but just moves, which is a very common type of.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's just a satellite, and then all of a sudden it makes weird movements, so it can't be a satellite.
The good thing with satellites is they're linear. They might move orbit a tiny bit, but not enough for you to probably notice that. They just go in a straight line.
And you're also trackable, so you can rule out straight away.
Yep.
Well, a lot of them. There's that many up there, but a lot of the time you can rule out. Again, the audience laughing, led by Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few been on Jimmy Kimmel talking about UFOs and stuff, but he still has the sort of joking one with the audience laughing. And when she mentioned the Methodon or whatever it was, the giant shark,
the Megalodon,
Megalodon, there wasn't even like a prompt. Then the audience was laughing.
Yeah,
like, this wasn't even like even a part to even laugh. So it's a bit.
Yeah, it's. What does that say about the audience, or what does that say? I mean, I
think that the sort of the audience of these types of programs is kind of low level Saturday night entertainment. Over here, you got the likes of Ant and Dec, Saturday Night Takeaway, and X Factor. Kind of, you just watch it. It's just easy to watch, very light and entertainment in brackets.
Light entertainment, that's it. It's
but
it's a shame because, but then the thing is, we're coming at it from a UFO community type position, whereas some people just don't believe in it anyway. So they're hardly likely to use the platform they've got to dig a bit deeper for fear of ridicule as well.
Yeah,
and like sure. It's like entertainment. It gets clicks, it gets laughs. People find it funny. So,
and they generally probably forget about it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. It's no brain TV, really. You just watch it.
That's what I was trying to. Yeah, that was the word. That's kind of free.
Yeah, you don't have to think about it. I watch telly like that. It's like trash, not trash TV. Jimmy Kimmel wouldn't say it's trash TV, but it's that kind of. You can just watch it. You don't have to think. You just get entertained. So that was January Jones. Interesting one. I think we can both agree that it wasn't maybe taken as seriously by the audience and Jimmy Kimmel as.
I suppose it's a bit of a nothing. That was don't say nothing sighting, but
yeah, I saw something weird in the sky. Nobody else saw it, and yeah.
So the next one, this is going to be a bit more on the controversial side. This person has been on some actual TV shows investigating this type of stuff, and has come under a lot of scrutiny, has come under quite a lot of stick. and has also had well-publicized substance abuse issues
Personal
as well.
issues. Personal issues.
Yeah. So the next one is Demi Lovato, singer, former Disney actress, and she appeared on the Clarkson show, talking about some of her experiences. And we'll just play this one.
Have you ever had an experience?
I have never seen an ET face to face, but I have seen a lot of weird things in the sky that can't be explained, and even on the ground.
Nope.
Yes.
No, but you did hypnotherapy, and I've always wanted to do it for like separate reasons. But like you did hypnotherapy to learn more about the encounter, right?
Yes.
Did you have a crazy experience doing it?
I didn't have like a crazy experience doing it, but I think doing it for this, I did it for a crazy experience that I had.
Yeah.
I had a night where I was dreaming, and I say dreaming very loosely because I don't really know what happened, but I all of a sudden was in my room, and I know I said, I sound like this is gonna sound so out there, but just bear with me. So I woke up in my room, and there was like 3 beings, and they they were like, "Do you want to see your planet?" And I was like, "Oh, sorry."
So you were like, "Hell yeah!"
I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go!" So I like whooshed out of my room and was like hovering over the planet, and then all of a sudden they were like, "You want to see our planet?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah.
So then I whooshed to this like pink and purple planet that I've never seen, so that with the hypnotherapy, I was like trying to figure out what exactly that was. Was it like, I don't want to use the word abduction because that implies that it wasn't with consent. I was totally for it. You know what I'm saying?
You said hell yes.
So I can't call it like an abduction. I called it an astral projection for a long time because I went somewhere else.
Yeah.
But then I realized maybe this was just an encounter that I had.
A little less humour from the audience.
We were kind of laughing with her because they were just having a bit more of a fun chat with each other. What's interesting about this one for me is that she did try and do like hypnotherapy or hypnoregression to try and find out what experience. Well, she hasn't said, or she doesn't say. Well, she's like, I thought it was this, but wanted to find out what it was, what happened. So I did this rather than just saying this happened. She's trying to find out what happened to her.
Yeah. It's when they start with, I've never seen an ET face to face. And it's like, but that just comes from, that's what people assume these things are there for extraterrestrial, which they might be. They might be. But I think we're down a bit further down the road than that now with what these things possibly could be interdimensional, but it's still off-world things. But like you say, definitely she's tried to understand what happened to her. She seemed pretty open with the experience, as in when they said to her, "Do you want to essentially come with us?" And she's like, "Hell yeah." Whereas some people will, and we've spoken to people that have like this terrifying experience.
Yeah, and like you talk about like kind of ET beings, but in this experience, she did sort of get taken to another planet. It would allude to it being, maybe it is a different planet and it is aliens from outer space.
Yeah,
effect.
Of course. And I suppose if you don't see where you've gone, then that's a reasonable assumption, isn't it? But yeah, I like that one. I mean, the challenge we've got is that over the last few years, she has had personal issues mentally and with drugs, like strong drugs, heroin and stuff. Did this happen while she was intoxicated? Who knows? But she definitely sounds open to the experience. Like I said, she seems open to it. She doesn't seem like it was a scary thing for her or whatnot.
So like there is a mixture, like you're saying. Sometimes it's like a harrowing, traumatic experience, but other people do say they're friendly. They do want to show us, they're giving us messages. They're trying to help humanity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it is different, could be different races, like a lot of people talk about, and some are bad, some are good.
Yeah.
These are the good ones that came to her.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. I like that one. That was an interesting one. I like that. And again, who knows what these people, any person, when they're sharing their experience, unless you've been that person, you can never know what experience they've had. So who's to say she's making it up? Didn't sound like it.
For sure. This next one, another one, I don't know if it's a real name or what.
Post Malone, that's his.
Post Malone.
Post Malone's a legend. He's a singer. Tattoos all over his face.
Yeah, on the video he's got tattoos on.
He's a bit of an odd guy, but doesn't take away from the fact that I've heard him on this particular show actually, on Joe Rogan, and yeah, he's an interesting guy to listen to, and he seems switched on. He doesn't.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, I don't think that's his real name, but
Demi Jones, and I got Post Malone.
Post Malone, yeah.
On, like I say, on the Joe Rogan Experience. And let's play the file.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Pretty weird here. The spike, they think, it's hard to tell because sometimes when people talk about UFOs, a bunch of other people hallucinate or lie. Like there's a lot of that.
Right.
So every time there's a real legit UFO, you get a bunch of nut cases who just want to tell crazy shit about being taken
and
aboard
I seen
spaceships.
One. I mean,
you've seen
I
the
never.
UFO?
Yeah.
What'd you see? What'd it look like?
I was probably 16. I was in upstate New York, and it would just stay there. So let me precursor this. My aunt and uncle were very strict, and we had to go to bed at a very strict deadline, probably 10 p.m. And I was looking out the window with my cousin, and it's just a light that just stays there and then just fucking goes off. I mean, it just, you can't explain it.
Well, if you're 17 at the time?
16.
16? How,
probably.
How strong is this memory when you're like looking at it, when you're trying to remember it?
Medium.
Medium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's something there.
For sure, something took off and did something that didn't make sense to you?
For sure. And then in Utah, I mean, there's shit happens all the time. I mean, even here in L.A., I can't tell you how many times, because I used to live in Tarzana. So there was like a balcony here, and it looked kind of like, it sounds corny, but like a classic like force field. Whenever you think of a force field, and it just kind of goes like this, and it's kind of like a dome in a circular shape. And it just goes like this and goes back in.
Whoa.
In Tarzana. Looking down at the fucking city. And I'm like, how did no one else see this?
They might have. But
I was there with like fucking 4 other people, and they saw it too.
Interesting.
Just in what I like about what I thought was very interesting, because I know you listen to Joe Rogan. I've only listened to it on when we do these episodes.
Yeah.
Seems to have quite a lot of UFO people on. Is that where we sort of saying how old he was? Asking about, like, we've been in memory, and we talked about memory before, where it's not always correct. What you think and remember isn't actually what happened. And he's kind of asking that to Post Malone, saying, how strong is his memory? How much is it, like, things? So asking the question, he's like, medium. So you're not like totally confident that was the memory, but there's like obviously still a memory there, but maybe he's thinking it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think the good thing is with Joe Rogan, I know he's very divisive, a lot of people don't like him, but he has had those conversations with experiencers. He's spoken to Bob Lazar, Jeremy Corbell, again, some people do or don't like him, but the caliber of people that he speaks to who are switched on, and he does ask some decent questions. He doesn't just take it all at face value. He does push a little bit, and like you say, he's asking how strong's the memory, that kind of thing. Post Malone, just for the record, his name is Austin Richard Post. That is his real name. Yeah, I've listened to that interview as a whole anyway, because I think Post Malone's quite an interesting guy. He comes across very genuine, and he said he saw that with 4 other people over LA. People must have seen it, but I think sometimes people are so busy looking down that they don't look up, or they look up but they just don't see, and that's the thing.
Yeah, I think about places like LA as well, how much light pollution there would be in the big, densely populated kind of areas in America. It seems like he's had a couple of experiences. And talked about it in just like a matter of fact.
Yeah,
I saw this when I was 16. I saw this years later in LA.
Yeah,
and just like talk about it as if it's a real thing that people see.
It'd be interesting.
Cool.
It'd be interesting to talk, say, to him and see if he remembers any earlier memories, because I know some people like me, or normal people, don't necessarily have any kind of experience, and then other people seem to have multiple ones. So it could be that they were just showing themselves to him.
Could be.
But yeah, very matter of fact. It didn't seem like he was bullshitting. Again, you don't know, but interesting character, nice guy.
Yeah, seems right on the interview.
Yeah.
So the next one, something a little bit different, because I couldn't get the audio for this one. So I'm basically going to read this guy's kind of statement about it. And this is from, I think it's the first time we've had like a religious aspect to it. Because this is the Reverend Richard Coles.
It's interesting because I was just Googling to see who this was, and then it come up, just as you said, the Reverend, and it's exactly who's just come up on my screen. Oh, you can't see that, but there he is. Yeah.
So he is I think he was a pop star. He was in a pop group called Comanderes.
No.
Before.
Was he?
Yeah.
There's a genuine shock there. I did not realise he was in the Comanderes.
Had to be some sort of celebrity aspect to him to.
He is a celebrity. Episode. He is a celebrity.
Yeah,
in his own right.
As a Reverend.
No, he's a TV personality. He's been on.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's been on. It's so famous, I don't know, but he has been on loads of TV programs. He's a host of BBC 4's Saturday Live program. He's a regular on QI. Would I Lie to You? Have I Got News for You? Yeah, he is a bit of a celebrity.
Oh.
I did not realise he was in the Comanderes, and I've just had a look on it now.
So it's got here, before becoming a clergyman, he's in a pop group, Comanderes, best known for their hits Don't Leave Me This Way and Never Gonna Say Goodbye. Is that the Don't Leave Me This Way? Is that the one? Ah, okay, yeah, I know that.
With Jimmy Somerville. Jimmy Somerville was the guy the lead singer who always hits the high notes. Amazing voice on the guy. And if you grew up in the 80s, which you almost did.
No.
What year were you born again?
87.
But no. Okay. I remember Don't Leave Me This Way and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That is a big tune. I can't hit any note. Not in tune anyway. But yeah, he is famous in his own right.
Oh, cool, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah.
So Reverend Richard Coles.
Yeah.
He saw something I couldn't explain in the sky over Daventry in the UK. And it says it was in 1977. my friend Candy and I saw a flying saucer near Daventry. And I swear, we looked out the window, we both saw it. It was at night, and we saw a flying saucer flying along. Absolutely a flying saucer. And I thought, blimey. And then it went away, and I thought, did I really see that? And we had that conversation between ourselves. And over the years, I realised that the flying saucer was like the flying saucer in the film Space 1999. So I'm thinking, whatever I saw, my mind constructed it as something familiar, a flying saucer from Space 1999. Interestingly, I've noticed when I've been to see people who said they've been haunted, what they describe as something they've seen in a film. It's like a frame of reference. Sometimes think that maybe in the future, when the vast expanse of the universe becomes accessible, that they'll find something, but it'll be more like Kettering than an alien world. So a little bit of humour in there. But really interesting is making these references, saying that his mind made it something familiar, something he knew as a frame reference. That's something we talked about with screen memories.
Yep.
Things where the mind trying to comprehend, if it's seeing something it can't figure out, it's trying to fill the gaps, and it gives you something you can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only like a small bit of segment, but I thought that was interesting where he's talking about that aspect of the whole UFO thing.
Yeah, I did like that. The other bit that's interesting is because he's a man of the cloth, and obviously he's a reverend. The fact that he talks about in the future that we might get disclosure, basically, it's an interesting take from somebody from a point of religion reference, because we've always talked about the fact that if it was found that we aren't the only things in the universe, which I don't believe we are, that kind of goes against a lot of what religion is made up of. So it's an interesting take from someone from that point of view. I think that's what I'm trying to say. But he seems a nice guy. He's a genuine guy. When he talks, he's a serious guy. He's not a comedian. But yeah, it's like that. So be more like Kettering. That's something to look forward to. What do you think? Do you believe what he's saying?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's something that he saw when he was younger, and he's always kind of thought about it. Where so like over the years, kind of thought back to it and thought what it could have been, and making these references and thinking about other aspects, like he talks about hauntings, saying how that could be a similar thing where your mind makes it seem something that you've seen in a film just to fill the gap. That might be why when big films come out, especially in the 80s and stuff, it's like a spike in reports. It could be because it's on your mind. You are seeing something unusual, but your mind's filling it in with that recent image that you've had from Close Encounters or whatever that's been out. So there's that little spike in sightings and stuff, which makes sense really for me.
Yeah, it does make sense, and it's quite a logical way of looking at it as well, because it's one of the few celebrities that we've listened to where they've kind of rationalized what they've seen, that it might not have been what they saw, but that's what their mind interpreted as seeing, which is cool.
Yeah, interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Back to Puppet Audio Files. This is radio presenter Johnny Vaughn.
Legend.
And he was on the Lorraine show, which is a daytime talk show in the UK. And obviously just talking about his experience, which I will play now.
And Johnny is here. Like we say, it's a major talking point all of the time. It divides the conversation. But half of us believe in aliens in the UK. 7% of people believe they have seen a UFO themselves, and you are in that 7%.
Yes. Well, yes, I've seen something I can't explain. The thing is I think if you ask most people, like more than 50%, if they believe in aliens, and this is kind of a paradox, something that appears a contradiction, but actually makes sense. And the paradox is, if you speak to most people, they'll say yes, they believe in aliens, and that's not crazy. People say, yeah, I believe there's aliens.
Yeah, there's
but
something.
If someone says they've actually got proof of aliens, people are like,
yeah.
And that's quite a weird thing. That it's fine.
You want to believe, but you don't.
No, it's
want
fine
the
to
proof.
believe in something until there's evidence.
Yes.
And it's very hard to find a sort of another example of that outside religion, where people sort of believe in some kind of higher power. But if someone says, "Yeah, I've spoken to Jesus," people are like, So I had a strange experience, which I'm not lying about. Neither the other two of my friends.
Yes, because you were with friends, which I think is the crucial part of this story, because a lot of people go, I saw it, but no one else did.
No one else did.
Yeah.
So I know I'm not a liar. So the podcast really has the starting point that these people are not liars. So they believe what they've seen. That's the most important thing. They believe it. And I just wanted to really give them, you know, a kind of platform to tell their truth. And that's it, really. And I don't pick it apart in a cynical way. I try and pursue them. I think you've heard the first one.
I have, and actually, I love the fact that you really do. I listened to, it was a gentleman called Dan Boskill who believes that he saw his future self, actually, as a 7-year-old little boy, and he's had other encounters since it. But he kept saying, well, you know what I mean. And you said, no, but I don't know what you mean.
No,
and you kept pulling him on certain things, which is what, as the listener, you want to ask those questions.
Yeah, right. With Dan particularly, he shared a room with his brother, and he didn't tell his brother in the morning. And you're thinking, well, why didn't you? But the thing is, it goes back to this thing of why we are sceptical of these people, and why we sort of think they must be lying. But you sort of think, as a 7-year-old, what, you're going to really commit yourself? I'm going to lie for the rest of my life.
Yes.
I know. I'm going to start lying. I've seen aliens. I'm going to start lying. I just don't think kind of people do that particularly.
Well, just to go back to your encounter, what did you see?
Well, I was driving in a car, and we were coming back from an away football game. There was 3 of us in the car, and we hit a traffic jam on the M1. And I was in the passenger seat, and I was just sort of looking out the window, you know, just beyond the hard shoulder. I don't know what it's called. I call it the green sleeve, beyond the hard shoulder. But it's, you know, sort of air of... And I was just sort of looking while we're going along, and suddenly I just saw this sort of bright light, like about the size of a dustbin lid, kind of made of light. And it was sort of swooping around, sort of like this, just sort of moving. And then it sort of went right up, and it had light coming off it in all directions. And this is about 7 o'clock, kind of late spring, early summer evening, so kind of dusk, period between sunset and darkness. And then suddenly it just went bam, and it just shot off like the fastest thing I've ever seen. And I sort of turned around to my mate Ben, who we talked to we do a sort of a bonus episode discussing it. And I mean, I won't repeat because the language at this point was pretty strong. I said, did you see that? And he said, and then my friend Mick, who was in the back, just goes, did you see? What? And we were looking at each other. It was just crazy. And we don't really talk about it that much. But when we do, it's quite spooky. But like, remember that thing? We go.
And do you think all the other cars, you used to talk about like
I don't know.
Perhaps you wonder...
Yeah, good point. I've never thought about that.
Exactly.
How weird.
Yeah.
I just thought about
it. Well, maybe there could be someone watching this morning that was in a car there.
Have you ever seen anything?
Wow. That's super interesting.
Again, it was some of that. It was an experience from when he was a kid. I think he was 7 years old. And he saw it with his mates and all people in the car, and like they still talk about it. Kind of today, they still think, "Oh, remember that time we saw that?" And they're getting something that's stuck with him his whole life.
Interesting that he talks about this boy who saw something, then the next day didn't tell his brother. And we hear a lot about that, where people have these experiences and then everything's normal afterwards. So we spoke to like Sasha Christie and her experience, a profound experience, and then they sort of carry on with the evening as though nothing's happened. Ryan Sprague also talks about the fact when he had his experience, and his dad was there, and then they sort of carried on. People just seem to they have this experience, and it's not. And interestingly, he talked about the fact that when he was in that car and him and his mate saw it all, that they hadn't even thought about other people in the traffic jam seeing it. It was just they were so consumed with it being their experience.
What you said there about going back to normal, I mean, my own sighting, which obviously I've talked about many times, is there's a group of us, adults, kids, all saw it, all were like, what the hell is that? And then everyone just went back to normal. And I've spent my whole life to change the course of my life to be doing all this.
Yeah.
But they probably, I mean, I've not watched any of them for years, but would they even remember it?
It's a strange thing, isn't it? It's a very personal experience as to how it affects people. So when people say, well, you can't have just gone back to normal afterwards. It just doesn't seem right that you've seen this like world and life-changing thing. But everybody's different. And the profoundness of it is probably your brain just going, right, we'll just go back to normal. Nothing to see here type job. And we crack on. And I think for some people they do. It was just something that happened. And it was so profound that it becomes, your brain just goes, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I like that. He articulated a lot of that stuff very well. I'm gonna have to check out his podcast now.
Yeah, so for a bit of context, the boy talks about in the middle bit, he has his own alien abduction podcast, and that was his first episode. It features that boy sharing that experience with his brother. Well, I didn't tell his brother the next day. I'll listen to that as well. Johnny Vaughn.
It was right about the fact that people say it's definitely over 50% of people believe in aliens, but as soon as you say I've got photographs, they go, fucking don't be stupid. And it's like, but you believe the fact that there is the possibility of aliens. You go, yeah. So that was quite interesting. They go, yeah, most people believe. I think.
Yeah, and it's like mentioned the similarity to religion, where so many millions of people, well, billions probably, have this belief. But then if someone says, "Oh, just a message from God," or "I've just had this come across," and people don't get believed, but it's like, well, you believe it, but we don't believe that. It's just like where do you draw the line on believing it? It's just good comparison.
Yeah.
Moving on, another Joe Rogan experience episode, and this is Howie Mandel, who is presenter, comedian type person from America. And yeah, like I say, he was on Joe Rogan. Let's bring this up.
I've seen a UFO.
But have you really?
Yeah.
What'd you see?
I saw, and I was with my wife, and it was right there. I was driving. I was in Toronto. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I was in my 20s, and we were driving down a country road, and I thought, oh my God, there's a giant accident way up ahead, because I saw this line of like a half a mile wide of all these flashing lights. So I thought there was like a lineup of ambulances or first responders or whatever. And as I got closer and closer, that whole line of lights, quicker than I can fathom, just shot into the sky and disappeared. And I turned to my wife and I go, did you, I saw something. Did you see something? She goes, the lights? And I go, yeah. And we've never seen anything since. We went, this is way before the internet, but we called the airport. We called the military. Has there been any reports? We didn't see anything on the news, but we both saw it.
What could you describe the lights?
A straight line of lights that looked like they were probably, a quarter of a mile wide. You know, like this was a giant line of lights. So I thought there was all cars lined up, you know, on a road. We were there was no street lights or anything. It was when I realized what it was probably about 30 or 40 feet above the road. You know, when I think about where I first saw the lights, they couldn't be on top of a car because there's no car that stands that high, or trucks or a train. And then the point was that how fast that I saw how quickly I saw this line of lights just shoot into the atmosphere and disappear. Like I've never seen anything move at that velocity.
How far away was it when it shot away?
See, because it was night, it could have been 10 miles. It could have been 1 mile. I don't know how big it was because I didn't actually see the object. I saw a line of lights. Right. So I don't know how far I was from the lights. But I do know, if you called my wife right now, she would describe the exact same thing. She was sitting in the car with me. We're both not, you know, UFO enthusiasts. I don't know that I didn't have a non-belief. I just never thought of it. We saw this weird thing that has never been explained to us. I think it would be ignorant of me to not think that this was something beyond our scope as far as what we have on Earth. So I've seen that. And I've read a lot, like you have, of other people who are seemingly trustworthy, educated people who have seen similar things, who've had, it's not always just the kook in the cornfield said, you know, I saw a UFO. There are people in science, educated people who have seen it. So
fighter pilots,
commercial pilots.
Joe Rogan does a good job with the questions and lets them talk about it like properly, rather than having the audience laughing in the background and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I think because he does long form interviews, so some of his are like 3 hours long, depending on the guest. It gives the opportunity for him to just sit back and let them tell their story rather than a 5-minute segment on a TV show where somebody's right, tell me what happened, thanks a lot.
Yeah, true.
He asks lots of open questions to just let the person then talk, which is interesting. It was interesting as well that this guy tried to say, okay, it couldn't have been lights on a car, couldn't have been lights on a train, and the speed it shot off. But I don't know how big it was, so I don't know how far away it was, which is good. So he's trying to rationalize sort of where and what size it was, how far. It's like he said, it could have been 10 miles, it could have been 1 mile. And that's the thing with night sightings, is when you're looking up at night, you've got no real frame of reference as to where these things are. So it's interesting that he sort of puts that in rather than just saying I saw a light in the sky and it shot off. He was trying to think about it as well.
He's an intelligent guy. Everything I've seen him in, he's like I've only ever seen him sort of being like a comedian type guy, but it seemed genuine. And again, just talks about it matter of factly. Like he says about, it's not just cuckoo people that see this stuff. It's scientists, pilots, everyday people like himself that are seeing stuff. And it's good that a lot of people are going on shows like Joe Rogan to talk about it. So I didn't know Howie Mandel had a UFO sighting until I was doing research for this episode, and that's like pretty cool. Like all these names, like the first time we did this type of episode, kind of struggled to get that many.
Yeah.
And then we did part 2, did like 10, 11 in part 2. Then we did another load on this one. So it's pretty. That, like I said at the start, there seems to be a lot more now coming out, and more recent people, like popular now people.
Yeah,
that are
more
talking
relevant
about it.
people. Yeah, because the first one, Muhammad Ali, there's a lot of people who wouldn't even know who Muhammad Ali is. They probably heard his name, but the younger generation, of which I'm not, a lot of people will know who Demi Lovato is, Post Malone. They're kind of relevant pop figures, and I mean pop as in popular culture.
So, I mean, I'm not that old, and I don't know most of these people in this episode, apart from Demi Lovato and
I know 4 of these
Mandel,
people.
I think. Yeah.
4 of these people. So, I mean, I'm hip and cool.
So,
definitely.
so this wraps up the episode for Some Celebrities See UFOs Part 3. However, if you are a Patreon subscriber, we do have another bit of content on there, an extended version of this episode, where we have Howie Mandel again. But this time it's on his podcast called Howie Mandel Does Stuff, where he's got wrestler Chris Jericho on his show talking about his UFO experience.
Awesome.
So if you want to listen to that, make sure you sign up for our Patreon at www.patreon.com/Pursuit of the Paranormal Podcast.
Yeah. So it's been a wonderful journey again, Ash. So very interesting to see these people, and like you say, more relevant people to nowadays, and all sound quite articulate in what they've experienced. So that's been a breath of fresh air. So yeah, no, I've enjoyed that. Enjoyed listening to these. From
always popular episodes as well.
Yeah. It is interesting just to see how it, like I mentioned, that it affects everybody. It doesn't just pick rich people or poor people. It could be anybody that has an experience. So
definitely.
Cool.
Well, yeah, nice one. And we shall see you next time. Or if you're on Patreon, we'll see you in a minute.
Yep.
Pursuit of the Paranormal with Ash and Greg.